Right. What's up, traders? I'm here with my good friend over from Edgeful, Andre. Andre, what's up?
What's up, man? How are you? Thanks for having me.
Always. Yeah, always good. Besides getting a bit rinsed today in the markets, after two solid days, you always got, and funny enough, my entries would be in profit now. So it's a bit of a crap one, of course, it's like that. But all good my side. How have you been your side? How are you finding these markets today?
Crazy markets. I'm expecting some sort of, honestly, after the election, I'm expecting some sort of shift in the markets, like super volatile before. I don't think it's going to be as volatile now. Maybe going into the end of the year, price will kind of like slowly grind either up or down or maybe consolidate. But I'm not expecting that crazy volatility that we were experiencing before with these like massive trending days, like back to back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. So let's get right into it. I can just I'm not going to speak in too much depth about, for those watching, I'm not going to speak in too much depth about my positions now. I took two losses on the S&P on some prop firm accounts, and then I did trade on my personal account. I took in the video long, but I always do my daily reviews. And for those that are watching live, I do my daily reviews between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern time, live every single day. Sponsored obviously by Edgeful. So come watch me there. That's where I'll go more depth about my trades. But let's get right into it here, Andrew. Let's bring that up over here. So actually, just something that's been, I had an interesting stat. I did want to share this on our stream here today.
Yeah.
If I just bring this up, but previous days range. So you guys know that are listening. This is one of my favorite reports with Edgeful, the previous days range report. So basically, if we take out previous days highs, what are the odds that we close as a bullish day, and vice versa for the shorts, right?
Yeah.
And I'm using that to help me with my bias dictator. So for this previous day's range reports, yesterday I had a nice winning trade on the DAX shorts. Look at this year to date on the DAX, and I'm just using the futures. I am trading this as a CFD contract, but it doesn't. I want the pricing for it. They're pretty similar. But on the DAX year to date, if we on a Wednesday, when we take out previous day's lows, 100% of the time we actually close as a bearish closing day, which is pretty interesting because I haven't seen many reports like year to date is a good amount of sample size too. I mean, that's almost 11 months. Yeah. So that's almost a whole year worth of data. And then by outside close on a Wednesday, so we can actually, that's 67% of the time. So not great on that one, but by weekday, I mean, 100% of the time, that's pretty interesting. What I'm also seeing, and for you guys that are watching, when you start to use Edgeful a bit more, and you're going to see some screenshots and that online, and guys will be like, oh, well, now I'm just going to use Edgeful without getting it. You guys can't do that because the stats change, and also you can't see the more in-depth stats. So like I've seen on NQ, the US markets like NQ and the S&P, Mondays are typically more bullish days compared to other days, but you won't be able to pick some of these nuances up if you don't actually have Edgeful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Give us maybe some updates from your side. We're going to speak about a few things as well, but give a few updates your side, Andrea, on what's happening around Edgeful.
Do you want to pull up my screen?
Yeah, there we go.
All right, perfect. You can see this. We have I'll squeeze this over here. Okay. So we have a few new reports that I think are actually really, really interesting. Some of the stats on them are honestly a little bit insane, but I'm going to start out with the orb. So one of the things, this is like a sub-report of the orb. So in the opening range breakout report, over here, we're looking at the by levels variant of this report. So we're looking at ES in the New York session in the last 6 months. We also built a trading view indicator for this. I'm going to explain exactly what this does in just one second. So going to we have 30 custom private trading view indicators. You can get access to them right here. You click get access now, put in your trading view username right here, and then you will see all of them and all of the new ones that come out in your invite only section on TradingView. But I want to talk about the orb by levels. And what I'm going to do here is explain what this report does. So right here, you can see it might be a little bit small, but this is the 0. This is the orb high. This is another 0. This is the orb low. Now, you can see here we have 0.51, 1.52. These are just multiples of the orb. So in this case, this orb was 20 points. And if you go from 0 to 1, that's another 20 points. If you go from 1 to 2, that's another 20 points. So it's pretty much what this report measures is how often is price going to expand in a multiple of the orb. And what you can see here is that there's a very high probability that price will get to this -1, +1 area. And then as you start to get further and further out, the probabilities really start to drop off. So you can see here today, I mean, today was probably a more choppy day, but it only got to this minus 0.1. So if you're in a short trade here, this report will tell you where you can start to take your profits in high probability areas and where you can start to leave runners. So in this case, targeting that -1 has happened over 50% of the time in the last 6 months. And then as you continue down, -1.5, -2, the probabilities really start to fall off. So taking your profits in high probability areas, locking in a good trade idea and a good trade that's nicely green, take and lock in your profits. Maybe this is where you can move your stops to break even or move your stops into profit once you see these different levels. There's another way to use this too, which is to take reversals. So right here, if you have a long bias, let's say you missed the short. If you have a long bias now, you can go ahead and look at, okay, there is a lower probability that price is going to get all the way down here. I can get long here, expecting price not to reach these points. So those are the two ways that you can use this report. It's to take your profits in like high probability areas and then also take reversals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I think Zach, if I'm not mistaken, Zarb asked for that report.
Yeah. He asked for it on the initial balance, and we have it for the initial balance too. Nice. I'll actually switch over to it quickly. And we also have the indicator for it as well. So what I'll do here is I'll hide my orb by levels and I'll go to this initial balance by levels. And what you can see here is that it barely touched the point -0.5. So as you can see, let me just make sure that yep. So this is the first hour, and you can see that it's not very likely that price is going to really expand into the other areas of the orb here. So this thing like really falls off steep once you get to like 1.52. Like it's not probable at all that prices can get to this like 2.5 or higher, or in this case 2.5 or lower.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's nice. Okay.
Definitely a really, really interesting report.
Yeah, it's not something that I personally would use, and that's okay. But I think Zach likes something like this. This is something that I do want to mention on this is like with Edgeful. If you just pull up your Edgeful dashboard there, Andre, just have a look at how many reports there are. How many? Do you actually know the exact number?
Including these like variations.
Yes, the variations of it.
Yeah, it's over 100.
Yeah. So knowing that, and again, this is like where traders come in and the biggest thing. So for those that don't know, I trade in the Edgeful Discord, 9 a.m. Eastern time, Wednesday through to Friday. It's free. The link is in my bio for Edgeful. It's on their website as well. I can put it in the chat here too. But the biggest question I get asked is like, James, where do I start? What report do I use? And what I say to that is, well, how would you like to trade? Right? Find something that, I can tell you exactly how I trade. I'll show my entries, show my exits, what I'm actually looking for in my pre-market prep, and then into the first 30 minutes of the open. Yeah. But I think that less is more. When traders come in and they're looking to bounce, I'm going to trade with the RCT type of reports. And then all of a sudden I'm going to trade the gap fill. And then it's like, dude, you honestly like that's why I always also punt to guys. I say, trade less indexes. Like if you're an index trader, you don't need to be trading every single index. Focus on like two. I like the DAX in the London session, and I do like the Nasdaq and S&P. I'm favoring the S&P more recently, but I do like the Nasdaq as well. Yeah. I would say focus on like two indexes. So I have one for London, I have one for New York. Coming in and it's the same thing as trading. Coming in and looking to trade every single thing under the sun. Can I come here and find a trade on a currency pair? Of course I can. Can I come and trade a stock? I can find, I can take multiple positions on GameStop a day or AMD. There's so many different things that you can trade. And I think what I've actually found is that like less is more in my own trading. It also declutters my head, bro, because this game, especially when you're getting rinsed, can be tough, bro.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
It's one thing is that you learn the personality of how it actually moves, like how the candles form. When these big volume spikes come in, you kind of learn the personality. So I love what you're saying, that like, don't try to trade everything. Only trade a handful of things, learn how they move. Like for example, if you're trading like a SPY versus a QQQ, or you're trading an ES versus, or like, let's just say like gold versus an NQ, they move very differently. If you look back and you look at the chart, you can't tell how they moved or how those candles formed. But getting familiar with how these things move is really important. And then it also makes your life easier in terms of like looking for the data on them too. Cause like you can see how the data changes over time, and that would allow you to kind of like tailor and refine your strategy as the markets tend to shift.
Yep. 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
There's another report that I think is really interesting too, especially for framing out your week.
Okay.
So it's
opening week range report.
It's the weekly open retracement, actually.
You were speaking about
new.
You're speaking about this.
This is new. So what this report does is I'm just going to delete my two things there. What this report does is it measures how often price will retrace back to that Sunday 6 p.m. opening price at some point this week. So what you can see here, I'm going to mark out, so my trading views on the left, I'm going to mark out my Sunday 6 p.m. open, which is right here. This red line is my Sunday 6 p.m. open. And here, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So this report will measure how often does price actually touch this red line at some point this week. You can see the probabilities are ridiculous. Over 85, 80, almost 88% of the time when we open above, it will retrace. And then 90% of the time when we open below, it will retrace. So an extremely high probability report on ES. So one thing to note here is that this week, this is actually this week, the one that I'm showing you right now, we did open above in that New York session. So the session that you're looking at is really important because that's where it determines what bucket you're in. Are we opening above or are we opening below? You can see this week we did open above, and then price came down on that Monday to touch that weekly opening price. Therefore, this week did retrace. So a very high probability short right here.
Sure. And that is interesting because Zach uses that weekly retracement. I have it on my charts as well. I just like to see where we are in terms of that weekly open. I also use a weekly view app as well in my trading. But yeah, it just for those watching, it just shows you there's so many different things and of ways of trading. Now, just in terms of that weekly, just something that I do get asked that question quite often. Just because that has a high probability doesn't mean that we just come and we skyrocketing to new all-time highs and we want to just short it because it's coming back to the weekly open. Sometimes it just it says F that stat and just does what it wants to do. That's why it's called probabilities, not that will happen. In trading, like you Correct. Can have I was just I spoke about that 100% probability. I could have taken that trade. I did win that trade. But it's one of, like the sooner you in trading don't care about being right and wrong and you just drop your ego, the more you have a chance you're going to give yourself to make money over time. I'm getting rinsed this month. Last month, I had a great month. This month, I'm down this month, right? And that's the reality of trading. And that's why we were actually, Andre, before going live, we're actually speaking about like de-risking day trading profits and putting it into other long-term investment vehicles, retirement annuities, stuff like this, is because day trading is inherently, you have a risk of losing that money in your account. So nothing in trading is ever guaranteed. There's no holy grail system or anything like that. Even if you're trading a systematic type of trading, the best hedge funds in the world sometimes end down. I mean, look at Kathy Wood. She's managing ARK and she's probably got the most resources available, way more than any retail trader, and she still has down periods. So don't get me wrong, she's done well for herself with that ARK investment, still up over time, but the last few years haven't been doing too well. But so just drop your ego, learn to take losses. They're going to happen. I think something that I've experienced in my own trading is that as soon as you just be open and upfront, like, listen, I effed up today. Like, I not even effed up. Like, I hit my max daily loss. Like that, it is what it is. Instead of trying to hide it, that's why I always say I'm honest online. No matter what, I'll show my wins, I'll show my losses. That's what's going to happen in trading, and that's again with probabilities. Nothing is sure. No one wins every single day. No one makes 1,000% every single day or $1 million every single day. That's a fact.
And it's really, 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 really easier said than done. And it's only something that you realize after you've turned this page. But when you detach from the money is when you start getting success. Yeah. Because if you're worried constantly about the actual dollars in the account and you're always hyper fixated on the dollars, it's going to start to mess with your trades, your entries, where your stop losses go. And when you actually and it takes time, and it takes a lot of wins and it takes a lot of losses to get to this point. But when you genuinely say, like you just said, I took a loss, you know what? It happens. I'll make it back next week. I'll make it back over the next 2 weeks, whatever, because I can trust my system. I can trust my edge. But if you start to rage and tilt every time you lose money, that's when like you're guaranteeing that you're not going to, it's not going to work for you in the long term.
You know what? So just to speak on this, Andre, and we obviously had AceFX, you know, me, Austin, Evan, and the team over there. You know, I've been working with Austin for over 5 years. We've been also coaching I've been trading for 7 years now. I've been coaching for about 3, maybe 2.5, 3. But I've just had someone come through the Black Shirt Club, you know, our private mentorship. In the last, he had failed 25 of these FTMO. He trades CFDs, is from Serbia. 25 of these FTMO challenges. I mean, an FTMO challenge they're pretty expensive. A 200K account's about going to cost you, set you back about $1,200. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
He failed 25 of those. So do the math. That's about 30K, right? That's about 30K, and that's not putting it in your own broker. That's putting it into a challenge, right?
Yeah.
He came into the Black Shirt Club saying, dude, I need help. And anyway, we worked with him. He passed an FTMO challenge his first time around, actually in with us. It was actually remarkable. He's then been paid out 25 grand from that one account.
Wow.
And he passed another account with one of the other firms who's and he got paid out 30K today from that one account. So
unbelievable.
One of the things. So someone asked me, because I've been looking at his flipping statistics. It's actually unbelievable, his statistics. But I wrote down 3 things that I thought that you know, for the listeners, I think always like to, and because I want to learn from. Dude, that is massive. He went on a 50 grand from these prop firms. I haven't done that myself, and I'm like, dude, because I'm like, dude, that's pretty insane, like remarkable. 50 grand, 55 grand in the last 2 months, give or take, maybe even less.
Yeah.
And there was 3 things that I saw from his statistics and the way that I was working with him, and he was able to adapt. He said the first thing is he only trades a few hours a day. He took advantage of the Hang Seng, trades the Hong Kong 50, the Hang Seng in the Asian session. Yeah. So the Hang Seng can, for those that don't know, is the HK50. It's the Hong Kong index. It moves very aggressively, right? So it can move 1,000 points up and down. He trades a few indexes. He also trades the DAX in the London session. So a few tickers every day. Yeah. The second thing is his life balance, right? His life balance. He couldn't sleep when first joining. Now he sleeps much better. He's getting routines. And the last thing, and this is what I wanted to reiterate what you're saying, is he trades like he doesn't care. So instead of being hyper focused on every single trade, he's like, fuck it, I'm putting my trade on. If this wins, cool. If this doesn't win, well, guess what? He's got another job that he's got to go do the rest of the day, and a family and that type of stuff. And he's like, you know what? I actually don't really care if this wins or loses. I'm just playing. And that's the thing for me, I've seen in his own trading. He trades like he doesn't care. And it's what you were saying about like not being attached to the money, or like watching every single trade like it's your life depends on it.
Yeah. As a beginner trader, it's the hardest thing in the world. It's not even close. It's the hardest thing in the world to put on a trade, and all the emotions start to ramp up, and then you're just like, how do you, and like, just the logic of a new trader is like, well, I don't want it to go against me. And you hold on to a loser, you hold on to a loser. Like, I don't want it to be a loser. And then like, you start to really like maximize your losses and then not your winners, because as soon as you get profit, you're like, oh, that's X%. Like, I'm going to take it. And now you left how much on the table because you're too scared to hold on to a winner. And it's, truly, I mean, across the board, whether you're in sports, whether you're in like doing any like major presentations for like a business, or you're doing like some sort of investor pitch or anything across the board, like when you care about it way, way too much, when you're like, this has to be perfect, that's when you start to set yourself up for failure. You have to be able to prepare as best you can, execute the way that you intend, and that's it. That's all you can do, and you let the rest play out. And it's the same thing in the markets. Like, it's how it works.
Yeah. Sometimes, actually, I think sometimes some of my best trades are when I just take the trade, I get off the desk, and I've either won or lost. Yeah. Like I'd set where I would like it to go to level, maybe a little bit closer from but I set the level, and I just get off the flipping desk. Like, that it is going to do what it's going to do. I can't change it. Micromanaging sometimes is pretty shit. Yeah. So, okay. So any other things that you want to mention about any updates with Edgeful, anything like that?
Nothing major. The only other thing that I'll say is that there is a bi-weekday version of this that will tell you that the actual weekdays that will retrace You can see here there's a pretty big skew to the earlier in the week. So almost 80% of the time for the weeks that do retrace, this only measures the weeks that did retrace, obviously. Almost 80% of the time, it's going to be on that Monday. So as we were just saying, close to 80% of the time, it's going to happen on Monday. It does not, by definition, means that almost 20% of the time, it's not going to happen on that Monday. So very high probabilities here for price retracing to this weekly open on the Monday, but it is obviously, it can happen on a Tuesday or Wednesday. If it didn't happen by Wednesday, it is extremely, extremely unlikely that it will retrace this week, because not once in the last 6 months has price retraced on a Thursday or a Friday.
Sure.
That's it. That's the new update for these two reports, or the three reports for the orb, the initial balance, the weekly open retracement. We're also, I mean, not that we need to add so many more now, but we're also looking to add more, like different concepts rather than more sub reports. So if anyone watching has any recommendations, like we do take report requests, which you can see down here in this little button. You can click on this and you see this build a custom report. This is where you make the request. Just please try to include as much detail as possible, because it makes the interaction of back and forth a lot cleaner. And we need a lot of detail because there's so many different scenarios that could play out that, so just try to provide as much detail as you possibly can.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Go. And for those watching, go spam that. If you need help or support in the Discord, go hit that support button there, because Andre's not in it anymore, so he can go irritate the new person. That's
exactly.
But that's where you can get all your help. On a serious note, that's where you can get all your help. If you want anything with Edgeful, you're not too sure if some of the stats are you believe that are not printing correctly, that's where you can get the help. I'm trading live, on Edgeful's Discord, or in Edgeful's Discord, every single Wednesday through to Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Let me just bring this up here. Do you want to? Let's go.
And on the top left of your Edgeful platform, that's where the Discord invite link is too. We have one right here.
Yeah, nice.
In blue, you can see that right here. So if you want to join the Discord, which it's completely for free, so I highly recommend it. It's right here.
Yeah, and then he has, obviously, you can check out the beautiful bald head. That's me, Wednesday through to Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, right? So that's where you can, and it's free, as Andre mentioned. It's free. The Discord's free. You can join, right? Just be careful of any fake accounts joining. But so otherwise, I'm finding these markets this month just to be a little bit more choppier. But I would say, so my three favorite reports, I always like to give this on streams, because I think it's just, I sound sometimes like a robot. I repeat myself often, but this is what you kind of have to do this, right? It's the previous day's range report. So what that tells us is if we take our previous day's highs or lows, what are we looking to do? It's the opening candle continuation report. So if the first hour is bullish or bearish, what is the odds that we're going to close as a bullish or bearish day? Can help a lot with bias. And then an initial balance breakout report. So those three. Then what that tells us, if the first hour's high and lows, first hour of a market opens, so from 9:30 a.m. Eastern time to 10:30, if the highs get taken out, I would like to look for continuations, because the stat tells us, and let me bring it up actually, that will help. If the stat tells us that we very likely come back down and take out the other side. Let's get that up over here. So if we do this over here, right, like that. So that you can look at the DAX. This is the DAX in the New York session, but you can look at a London, whatever time you would like. But if we take out the highs, we get a single break 77.89% of the time, meaning that only if we take out the highs, only do we come back down and take the lows 14% of the time. Now, if we can, a lot of you guys trade ES, it's probably the most traded asset, or NQ, probably those two. ES is 33% of the time we get a double break, and then NQ is a little. I know NQ stats for this is pretty good. But NQ statistics here is 22% of the time we get a double break. So it helps me a lot with bias. But I think something again that I've also found is a lot of the time you got to still use price action and your own discretion in terms of these probability of trades. Not every single day. And something that I really need to work on is that not every single day. Like I probably shouldn't have been trading today, but I'm a DJ and we always want to try and make money. Is we got to use our discretion as well with markets. And sometimes it can be quite tough.
For sure.
Yeah. But this has been good. If you got any questions, any last comments, Andre?
No, we're actually about to get rid of the free trial.
Nice.
So I don't want to really, I don't need to hype that up, but yeah, we're going to get rid of the free trial soon because, and I'll just say that we want you to give yourself the opportunity of 1 month to build your edge and to discover the different nuances of Edgeful. Like, we understand that everyone's life is busy. We don't expect you to just sit for a whole day and just go through every single report and understand what they are. So we want to give you a month to go through and give yourself the chance to actually like develop an edge and to become profitable, get payouts from your prop firms, like build your personal capital more. So we are getting rid of that free trial. That's the closer, more recent updates that we're going to get. That's going to be like out soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like that. We actually got rid of our. I think we still offer a 3-day free trial, but we upped our price on our streaming, services to $100 because we were like, it's just not worth our time. And I mean, I was in the Discord the other day, not to shit on anyone or anything like that, but it was pretty. Some guys like. I signed up for the free trial, but I haven't used it. So can I get an extension of the free trial? It's just like, dude, like, okay.
No.
So go check Edgeful out. If they are going away, as you just mentioned now, they're going away with a free trial. So go check them out before they do that. You can get a free trial before obviously that ends. But I mean, if you're serious about your trading, I mean, if you're really taking this like a business and you can't make money without having business expenses. The same in trading. You can't come in and expect to have no business expenses. You got to pay for trading view platforms, right? You got to pay brokerage commissions fees. You can't actually even take a trade unless you're trading on the sim funded accounts then technically you got to pay $50 top step or whatever top firm you go with, right? But you can't actually take a trade without paying anything to the broker. You got to pay spreads or commission or both, depending on what account you have, right?
Exactly.
So you have to lay out expenses to actually be in any business it is. So I think for the $50 it is a month with Edgeful. I definitely believe it's worth it, especially because you're helping. For me, it's been great. And I'll tell you why. When I moved over from currencies to trading the indexes, I was like, okay, where do I start? And luckily at that time, I had Edgeful. And I was like, okay, let me look at some of these reports. And that's the reports that I was already using some of the reports in my currency trading. But I was like, I can now adapt this to the index market and stock market. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Andre. This is always
thanks for having
good.
me.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys again for the next one. Again, you can watch me trade live in the Edgeful Discord. Got to repeat myself because some people are joining now. You can come watch me 9 a.m. Eastern time in the Edgeful Discord, Wednesday through to Friday. So that's a wrap. Thanks, Andre, and we'll check you guys for the next one.
All right. Thank you, man.